All right, so buckle up, everybody. Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be exploring something pretty interesting, the mix of cyberpunk and Gothic themes. And we're better to do that than in the world of altered carbon.
Oh, Altered Carbon. I love that show.
I know. It's just, it's so rich with, ideas and this whole concept of consciousness transfer, right? Like
Yeah.
sleeving into new bodies. It blows my mind every time.
I know the implications for immortality. Just wow.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. The source material we were diving into today, it highlights how the show, how it uses these futuristic ideas to tap into some really classic Gothic anxieties.
Yeah.
Like death and identity, the haunting power of the past, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Big time. I mean, you think about immortality, right? Like living forever. Wouldn't that be amazing?
You'd think, right.
But Altered Carbon, it really makes you question that. Like, what if it's not all it's cracked up to be?
Yeah. What if it's like actually a curse?
That's the question the show asks. Yeah.
The text we're looking at actually compares the show to some of those classic Gothic novels like Dracula and Frankenstein. And, those stories, they're all about messing with death and it always
Oh,
backfires,
yeah.
right?
Oh, totally. I mean, Dracula, he wants to live forever, but he's totally miserable,
Yeah.
isolated, in despair. It's like, be careful what you wish for, you know?
Exactly. And you see those same kinds of struggles in Altered Carbon.
Mm.
Characters who've lived for centuries, they're often just weighed down by their past. All those memories, the people they've lost, immortality might actually erode your soul, make life feel kind of pointless.
I mean, could you imagine carrying around centuries of memories, the good and the bad? Just the sheer volume of it all, it'd be overwhelming.
Right. And then the text brings up this idea of the protagonist, Takeshi Kovacs, as like a cyberpunk Byronic hero. I got to admit, I wasn't super familiar with that whole Byronic hero thing.
Oh, yeah, the Byronic hero. They're a classic. Think like brooding, tormented, rebellious, usually haunted by something in their past. They pop up all over romantic literature.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So how does Kovacs fit into all that,
Yeah.
especially in this super high tech world?
Well, what's really interesting is that even though he can switch bodies, right, he can't outrun his past. All those memories, the trauma, the alienation, it all goes with him into every new sleeve. It makes you think, does immortality actually give you freedom? Or just, prolong your internal struggles?
It makes you wonder what really makes us us, doesn't it? Like if our consciousness can be transferred, what parts of our identity actually make that leap and what
Yeah,
gets left behind?
exactly. And that's where the whole idea of stacks comes in.
Right. The stack is basically it's the device that holds a person's consciousness, their essence, almost like
Mhm.
their soul in a way.
Right, right.
So the show kind of digs into some really deep questions about who owns those stacks and what happens if they get damaged or hacked or corrupted.
Absolutely. It's like who has the right to control your very essence, your soul, when it can be digitized? It's a pretty wild concept.
It's like they've taken those old Gothic castles and replaced them with these digital fortresses where our souls are locked away.
And just like those castles, they're not always impenetrable. There's always a way in or a way to break out. And the show plays with those fears a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the whole visual aesthetic of the show, right? Like
Mhm.
the text talks about these shadowy cityscapes, all this advanced technology, but it's like decaying, malfunctioning,
Mm.
and this whole noir-ish atmosphere. It's almost suffocating.
Oh, absolutely. You can practically feel the weight of those like massive buildings and the technology. It's oppressive almost. Like progress hasn't really erased the darkness of human nature. If anything, it might have just made it worse.
Right. And that's what makes it so gothic, right?
Mm.
Like it's still about those primal fears, about death, about who we are, even in this futuristic world.
Exactly. Like the things that go bump in the night, they might be different in Altered Carbon. Maybe they're digital glitches or rogue AIs, but they're still there, lurking in those shadows.
So we've got this world where immortality might be a curse, this Byronic hero fighting his demons across centuries, and this visual landscape that's straight out of a Gothic novel. It's not just sci-fi, is it?
No, it's definitely not. The text argues that Altered Carbon really uses that cyberpunk setting to explore, like timeless questions about being human. What happens to our souls when our bodies are disposable? Can we ever truly escape our past? I mean, those are questions that people have been asking for, like, forever.
I never thought about it like that. But you're right. It's like our fascination with the Gothic and our anxieties about technology, maybe they're kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Totally. We're always trying to figure out what it means to be human, especially when we're faced with the unknown, whether that's the supernatural or the technological. It's the same struggle.
And that, I think, leads us to, like, the biggest question Altered Carbon throws at us. What happens when technology lets you bring back someone you've lost? But they're not really the same person, right? Because they're a new body, a new sleeve. Is that even ethical?
Oh, that's a tough one. It really makes you think about the nature of identity and what it means to truly love someone. It's like, where do we draw the line between, honoring someone's memory and basically like playing God?
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah,
I might need to go back and rewatch some episodes with fresh eyes after this.
I think we all might. Altered Carbon has a way of sticking with you. Makes you think.
That it does. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive. It's been mind-blowing, to say the least. And for everyone listening, if you haven't checked out Altered Carbon yet, I highly recommend it. You might just find yourself looking at the future and maybe even the past in a whole new light.
And keep an eye out for those Gothic shadows. They might be closer than you think.
Until next time, keep exploring those big questions. And remember, the future is just around the corner.
And it might be more Gothic than you expect.